Hey, welcome in, Gerald. How are you doing? You just happen to be on. Look at all these people popping in because you just happen to be on. You received the notification. Yeah. Uh, wait, do you moonlight? I am flat cap if you didn't know. So yes, I am flat cap, as well as Leighton. So, um, the scenery behind me is the giveaway. Yes, the flat cap. There we go. Uh, Andy Chino Mage does wear a flat cap now and again, and so I have to compliment him every time he selects the correct hat, instead of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I won't say anything bad about them. They're not the ones that ruined the sport. It's the Florida Panthers, but he does root for the Red Wings, so he does know the real team. Anyway, how are all of you doing today? Since you're joining in, like I said, this is just really a test to kind of figure things out. Maybe it's one of those things that we'll do more often. I kind of like our Google chat hangouts a little more because then we're just going in and we're hanging out. But I thought if I wanted to do this and come in with a 10-15 minute, here's some stuff I want to share with everybody, that this would be a good way to do it. So I'm checking it out, and boy, it looks a whole lot different than when I go live on Twitch. I can see myself, I can see the chat, but there's nothing else going on in the screen with me. And I don't know if I can make that happen. But I was just thinking about why did you get into digital ministry? And so that was why I was, one thing I've been thinking about in the last several days as I've been thinking about and planning for the new year. You know what? Let me see. Can I just go to slideshow? There we go. That looks better. Oh, let me put it back on chat. So I've been working on a pitch deck, and I'm actually having a conversation tomorrow where I hope I will either get to set up an appointment to go through my pitch deck, or I will be able to take and do my pitch deck. So I'll bring my laptop along, and we'll see what happens. I thought about printing off a copy. I don't know if that works or doesn't work, but as I've been reflecting over the last 6 months on, am I an expert in anything digitally? And I've always felt like, no, I'm not the expert in the room. I'm not the expert in the room. And the reason I kind of do that is because I'm not the one going and seeking out to do digital things. So in 05, church I was working at, we had a website. We're trying to communicate with people. We're trying to get it onboarded. Hey, Stu, same bro. Hey, appreciate it. You know, you keep posting things that I'm on that verge of VR, my friend. It's going to be on the list by the end of this year. It is going to. I don't know where and when it's going to happen, but VR is going to be on that list too. But the church I was doing an internship for, I kept having to send stuff in to the person who knew how to do everything, who was the manager, the business manager of the church. And they were the only ones with training on how to do the website. And I'd send things in to the business manager. And 2 weeks later, they still didn't have time to put stuff on the website. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. The events, I have to have events planned and all of everything written up 3 months in advance to even have a chance of getting it on the website. And the website is already outdated as it is right now, because it shouldn't have been on the business manager's plate. They shouldn't have been doing it. But they were the only ones trained on it. And I kept asking for a month and a half that said, hey, I need to get training on this website. And then finally this was back when Katrina happened, and I was in Texas. And if you don't know some of the story with Katrina, the county that I was in had 500,000 people that were refugees from Katrina that moved into the county. So I was north of Dallas in Collin County. So that county alone had 500,000 people that moved into it. And we were helping to oversee and run with others. We're partnered together to run a warehouse to bring in, to get goods. So we did a thing called Room in a Box. So I was like, I have to have this website up and running so the people around the nation can communicate and figure out what's going on and all of this, because I can't do it another way. So I locked the doors of my office. I sat in there for a week and I figured out how to do HTML. I didn't know how to do it really good. I still am horrible at it. But what I could do is figure out what it was and how to change it, what it was and how to add it, what it was. And so I spent a week playing with it. And then I've been doing websites for churches that I've been at ever since. And most of the time I've gone to a church that doesn't have a website. So I'm not an expert in doing websites, but you know what? I'm running several websites right now because I can't afford to have someone else do it. And nobody else has volunteered to do it. Or actually, one of them, I run a Shopify. I didn't even put that on the list. I run a Shopify account for Full Circle Beans that, by the way, I'm doing an ad here, I guess. Full Circle Beans will send a Bible for every bag of coffee that you buy. They will send a Bible with that. So we started with another organization called Resourcing Now, where we take Christian literature overseas to people that don't have it. Longer story, but we paid someone several $1,000s to get our website for Shopify up and running. And months later, we still didn't have it. And during COVID, my boys were doing Shopify because they were selling soap. So I said, I've got boys in my house that can help me figure this out. So I invited my kids to help me figure out Shopify. Now I'm running the Shopify account so that we can sell coffee. So didn't even know I was going to talk about that. So that's just kind of like all of these things. So why did I get on Facebook? Because I emailed the college kids and they said, Facebook me. And I'm like, what is that? And so I got on Facebook probably in 2007, somewhere around there. And then we started saying, hey, we're recording the services. Where do we put them? I can't remember who I was on before Vimeo. There was some old site. So it doesn't exist anymore that I can find or remember. But there was another site I was posting stuff to because it was free. And then Vimeo was free. I've got a lot of stuff stored on Vimeo that from churches that are past the capacity of what you can have now, because they've limited that. But and then I switched over to YouTube after doing Vimeo stuff. And that was to begin with posting after the fact. We'd record it on Sunday, upload it, and have that so that people who were not able to be in attendance could do it. And in 11, those are the years. The 05, the 07, the 09, those are all years, etc. Jeff. So in 2011, I started doing live stream of worship because YouTube was allowing you to do that. So we started live streaming in 2011, our church service. And the reason I did it was because there were people who were snowbirds. And if you don't know what snowbirds are, we live in the north, and a good portion, maybe 25%, 30% of the church will go down south for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Some people even go for 6 months during the winter. So they go to Arizona, they go to Alabama, they go to Florida, probably Arizona and Florida are the highest percentage that people go to, but they would take off, go there for several months. And we wanted them to still feel like they were a part of the service. And we noticed that if you did things live versus doing them pre-recorded, you had better attendance with people who participated in the live service than those who weren't there. We also knew that people went on vacations or people were homesick. And so that was why we did it. We chose to do that to reach out to people who were connected with us already and then weren't there. In 2011, I started a cross-country team. Doesn't have to do with digital, but it has to do with, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never run cross-country in my life. I didn't know a thing about cross-country. All I did was have a kid who loved it and had recruited a team, or not a team yet. He had convinced the athletic director, because football was the only program that the school had. When he moved there as a freshman in middle school, he ran cross-country. And we said, you're going out for football. And he was just afraid we're going to make him go out for football again. So he got the school board through the athletic director to give permission to start a team with zero budget. And in Iowa, where I was at the time, you had to have a coaching endorsement certificate, which was 5 different classes that you had to have in order to be certified to be a coach. I did that because I was assisting with wrestling. And so the athletic director asked me to start a team. I had no idea what I was doing. I started from zero, but what I realized I knew how to do was bring people together, create culture around shared things, and encourage and support one another. So that was one of those things like, this happened. I don't know what I'm doing, but I learned from other people as I was doing it. So that kind of that idea of you build it as you're doing it kind of mentality. And then in 2020, after all the stuff with COVID was going down and we weren't meeting as a church, I just decided I'm going to start doing short videos 2 to 3 times a week of encouraging people while we're not able to gather, because, hey, we're not meeting together. What can we do? So I started creating those. And through 2020, I did those, got to, was really weird. I made it to 100 and then something happened. And then all of a sudden I wasn't doing those anymore. We had shifted, we'd gone back to in-person. And so I put those on the shelf, said, I don't really need to do those anymore. I ended up leaving my church at the end of 2020. And in 2021, I didn't plan on this, but I ended up starting to live stream on Twitch. I started watching people on Twitch that were live streaming. I got invited over there by a friend to watch him. I started watching him. And then he started saying, hey, go follow him because he's going to stream. And I kept saying, why would I want to do that? I have no interest in doing that. But now I do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, like almost every week. And so I started doing live streaming, not because I planned on it. None of these things on the list were things that I said, I want to go do these things. I think there's a need and we should go do. I guess a few of them were, and a need presented itself and we just responded. But it was more of a, we could have done them ahead of time and been intentional, but we just kept going over to that. And one of the things I learned in the middle of the shift in COVID was my reasons for what I was doing was to reach people that we already knew and connect with people we already knew, which is all of the things up above. We're always and already people that were known. But as I was on Twitch and live streaming, they were all people that were unknown, except for my friend who invited me in. I didn't know any of these people. They were all people remote and distant. And until this year, all of them were out of my town. I now have a friend across town, lives 2 miles away, that will come in and watch me stream, which is really an interesting thing that happens, who happens to be at the church where my friend was at previously. So started doing live streaming. Then that led to doing Discord, which again, it's taken me 2 years to figure out my way around Discord, and I needed to learn some things. But now I'm creating and trying to do community in Discord. And then one of the other things I did was start digital John 17:23 groups. So if you don't know what John 17:23 group is, it is a group of pastors that get together, and it was based on getting together in your town. And so I'd been in that for quite a while. I'd led that group for quite a while, led a couple of them, where you get together with, 5, 6 other pastors in your town, and you share your life story, you share what's going on, you check in with one another, you read the Bible, and you pray. Very simple. But you get together on a regular basis and you're investing in each other's lives. And then hopefully out of that flow of relationship, you begin doing things and investing in the community. You at least are encouraging one another. You at least have a place to go and share and talk about everything that is going on in your ministry. And it's outside of your denomination. So you can be free to talk about the difficulties and the trials and the struggles and not worry about your paycheck or any reprimands if you're trying to think through and process things. So that was what I had been doing IRL. And then that group I was in kind of ended it in 21. And I just was driving along and kept saying, man, I wish I could do something about that. And I'm seeing a bunch of pastors online who are just disconnected and they're discouraged. And boy, wouldn't that be great if they could be in one of these groups. And then the Holy Spirit just kind of said, so that thing that you were doing IRL, how about you go and you do that online? So that's really my first Discord group, was figuring that out, but I still only use a fraction of what it is. Michael, I like Discord. We tried it, but Mighty ended up beating it in features at the time. Yeah. And I'm still trying to figure out all the features in Mighty. I'm still trying to figure out all the features in Discord. I mean, if I go and talk about Discord, I might be 5 steps ahead of someone else, but I don't feel like an expert. But to that person, I am potentially an expert in what I've learned because I can share it and pass it on to them. Which got me thinking about when Jesus sends out the 70, it's at the beginning of his ministry. They've just begun to gather around him. They've just started listening to him. They've just started spending time with him. And now, boom, go out there. Start right now. And I think we've done a poor job of that. We've done a poor job of saying, you've learned something, go apply it. You've learned something, go apply it. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes. The church doesn't like to let people make mistakes. We think that there's something detrimental at times, I think, about making mistakes. I was fortunate to be in a church that allowed me to make mistakes at times. When I was doing drama ministry, I tried some things. Oh my goodness, there were some flops. There were some horrible flops that I tried, but I learned and I grew and I kept doing new things. And I think digital is a place we are learning as we go along. We're trying new things and sharing what you're learning, not as the expert, but sharing as best practices. This is what I've learned so far, because then we're humble and we're hungry to learn and grow and share what we're doing with other people and to just keep moving forward in ministry spaces. And then my connections on Twitch kept intersecting with people that were in the church digital, used to be DCN, but now the church digital. And I had some conversations and then I went and kept doing what I was doing. And then I had some more conversations and the circle just kept looping back and looping back. And it's just been fantastic. And now I'm trying to see what the next year is going to be. And I love that I keep getting challenged. And Stu, all you got to do is show up. And I'm like, man, I know I need to get into VR and I need to get over there. And there's a few other people that are always talking AI. And I'm like, man, I know I need to get over there. So I think what I'm going to try to do this year on some level is to stop waiting for an invitation by someone, because most of these others were an invitation by somebody else. Hey, you need to come over and do this. I'm going to go over and I'm going to say, hey, let me participate in what you're doing. You're going to be launching a new service on Thursday. So you're calling me out. I'm supposed to show up on Thursday. Going to be launching Ephesians. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Ooh. Oh man, that's really tempting, because Ephesians is like my favorite book in the New Testament. It seriously is. Like the one translation I went through with I want to say it's the NASB. It just kept, like, the first time I read it in the NASB, I think it's a NASB, it's just like edification, 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 edification. Like, oh my goodness, it was like this resounding, ringing word all the way through Ephesians, which just really is the trajectory of what my ministry has tried to be. I'm trying to always be building up the body of Christ. Yeah, there's times where somebody might make a mistake, but what's going to build up the body of Christ more? Making a big deal about a mistake or encouraging them that they did well in what they did well. I picked this up, I think, from Chesley, and I really like it. What was good, what was missing, what was confusing. Never coming at it. That was wrong. That was awful. Don't ever do that again. You know what the person who did something wrong does? They already know that what they did wasn't the best and what was going on. You don't need to tell them that. You just don't need to. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Just kind of like thought I would go live, just kind of talk through all of that, because I'm going to be trying to be presenting that to a couple of people, hopefully more people. And if you noticed in the logo in the corner, Bless White Lake, I live in the White Lake area. There's not a town called White Lake. The town is called White Lake. The river is called White Lake. And if you're familiar with Bless Practices, that is what I am hoping to do down at the local market there. And so I've got a whole presentation that I'm working through, and this is one of the sections. And I thought, man, I need to talk through that and figure out how to explain what all these things are. So good question there on the 0507. I thought it was explanatory, but maybe I need to put 2000 in front of it to help out. Gerald, dude, you're still on. I know. Was sharing through kind of like my journey through ministry and some digital stuff, and just hoping it encourages somebody else. So didn't know we could go live in Mighty. I've known we could, because Jeff had done it before. A few others had done it. I didn't schedule it. I didn't know who was going to show up. I just thought, I'm going to go live and see what happens. This isn't Twitch. No, it's not. There's no emotes going on. There's no extra things going on. This is just me talking and anybody sharing. This is more like, I think, intended to be a presentation type of thing. I know I've seen it before where you've been able to, that others have been able to join you in this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know. Just playing with it, figuring it out. Thought I'd go on. Thank you all for showing up. So many of you popping in. That just makes me feel really good. So thank you for all of that.